Hey, what's up, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about why your comic shouldn't be your brand, you should be your brand. Here we go. You're listening to Draw and Talk, a show about indie comics and making comics, with your host, Tyler Carpenter. Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Draw and Talk, where we talk about indie comics and making comics. Today I have an awesome guest today. His name is Connor. He has an awesome series called Grimwood Crossing. I got that right. It's a Grimwood.
Yeah.
Grimwood Crossing. Got Volume 1 and 2. I just finished Volume 1, and he just had a successful Kickstarter for his comic book Swords and Sorrow. Swords and Sorrow. I totally jacked up. Like,
Five times fast.
Connor, thanks for coming on to the show.
Yeah, no problem. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I was just saying, Connor, to me, exemplifies what I want to do. I've been making comics for 3 years, and yet I have not done a Kickstarter before, and I'm doing one in October, and he's successfully done one, and I'm here to learn, and I hope you guys are here to learn. But Connor posted something on Facebook a while ago, and it was something about along the lines of, your comic shouldn't be your brand, you should be your brand. And I'd love to maybe have us discuss that topic a little more. So, Connor, what can you say about that? Because I know that at first you said that you were going down that road of, you were your comic.
Yeah. So I had done two successful Kickstarter campaigns with Grimwood Crossing, and all my social media was branded for Grimwood Crossing, and that presented a problem where when I went to go move on to a new project, Swords and Sorrows, and I wanted to go full ahead in promoting Swords and Sorrows and go full ahead in the social media aspect, but everything was branded as Grimwood Crossing, and that took a little bit of work to rebrand everything. It's not just so much as changing the name on your social media, you know what I mean, in your profile picture. You have to make tough decisions. Is it worth it to try and let your followers know and try and guide them through the process of converting it to you as a brand instead of that, or is it worth it to restart on another one? And I had made both sides of that decision depending on different social media aspects or social media platforms. So, and I gotta say, all that time could have been spent fully promoting Swords and Sorrows, right?
But instead, you're now trying to convert people. Say no, they're like, hey, all your fans who are yeah, but your fans were just Grimwood Crossing, this is what this guy does. And the moment you're like, I have another book, they're like, well, that's not what we came here for. Whereas they should be coming there for
that's
you.
What they're going to be like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was worried they were going to be like that, and I know some people. I know I had messaged someone had messaged me because they didn't remember following me because my name was different now.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? And I explained to them, and they were cool then. They stayed following me, but I was worried about that, and it's confusing for newcomers to come onto the Grimwood Crossing social media platform and then see everything that's not about Grimwood Crossing. You know what I mean? Where it'd make more sense if they came onto the Connor Bartel platform and just saw my current book, and then I can move on to the next book without any converting process. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, for sure, because they're there for you.
Yeah.
No, I have that. I had the same. When I first started as well, someone's like, you have to make a page for your individual books, and I just didn't feel like that was the smart thing to do, because once I'm done with that book, do I just leave that page dead, or could I convert those fans and be like, hey, follow me on to my next project that I'm gonna do? And that's why I see on all these comic book forums, people are like, join my comic book fan page. But you should promote yourself. I don't want to be a fan of just your book. I want to be a fan of you as a creator, so I can follow along with every book that you do. Did you find that you had a good conversion rate of did you feel like the people who were there for Grimwood followed you into Swords and Sorrow?
Yeah. the only hard numbers I could present were my email list, which took some converting as well, which was probably the most tricky one. And the numbers stayed well on that. I didn't. I wanted to make sure I didn't want to just all of a sudden start sending out Connor Bartel emails when they were only getting Grimwood Crossing emails this whole time. So I kept a Grimwood Crossing logo at the top, and then I announced like our next project with like my creator logo as well. Then I started sending emails out where the Grimwood Crossing logo is at the top and my creator logo is at the top. Then eventually I started sending out just my creator logo, and we're talking about Swords and Sorrows. Now I mostly, talk about my short stories that are coming out too, and now I kind of brand my email list as like, I'll tell you when new free comics are coming out and new Kickstarter projects that aren't free.
So what made you? So what made you? What made you want to end Grimwood and start making other, other books? Because I've talked with a lot of creators, and they love their idea. Their idea is their baby, and they're like, I'm going to be working on this one story for 10 years. And
yeah, everyone thinks their magnum opus is their first thing.
Exactly, and as indie creators who have put out books, we know that your magnum opus isn't even like, you shouldn't even start on your magnum opus yet.
Yeah, exactly. There is that story that I'm too afraid to script out right now.
But but you want to wait, because once you have enough a fan base, you don't want to put out your magnum opus and be like, this is the greatest story I have in me, and no one reads it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, good. Sorry. But yeah, exactly. What started this was a little bit of trial and error. I've been making a lot of the wrong decisions throughout this process, and the important thing is to learn from them, right? So when I first decided I wanted to make comics, I wanted to make a superhero epic that was 100 issues with spin-off titles, and everyone wants to do that. The truth of the matter is, no one wants your superhero comic unless you're Marvel, DC, or Robert Kirkman. It's just like, that's really how it is. And so, and also, I came to realize that like you should always write what you want to read, and people think, I want to read superheroes, so I want to write superheroes. No, you want to read Spider-Man. No, you want to read that Marvel DC hero. You don't want to read some random person's take on like average take on the superhero genre. You know what I mean? That's something that's been done to death a million times, and so I came to realize that, the projects that I like to read are like the more genre bending stuff. I don't really read superhero comics anymore. I love superhero movies to death, but modern superhero comics just aren't really what they used to be. Now I'm more into indie stuff, and also creator owned stuff like Image and stuff, and almost all my comics are coming from Kickstarter now, and so I like to read that stuff. And so and I don't want to say that like everyone that starts a superhero story, it's going to be shit. That's just not true. That's not what I'm trying to say.
But there's so many indie creators wanting to do it.
You have to fight your way through that. It's a shouting match,
Yeah.
And so I got like a few pages in that. I learned a lot about that, and I came to my senses, and I started, I took all my inspirations, and I started to make Grimwood Crossing. And I come to learn that the most important thing isn't to have your wonderful magnum opus. The important thing is to have your to have a finished project. A finished product. And so I still set a too ambitious a goal of 6 issues, and somehow we made it. But I wanted to end it because that's where I always intended to end it. I didn't want to write an ongoing series. I wanted to write a story with beginning, middle, and end. Or like one beginning, 4 middles, and an end.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to create what I wanted to read, and so that's what I did. And then after going through 6 issues, 150 pages of Grimwood, I'm like, oh, I'm doing a one shot next.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. You know, my comic book series Demons, it's 14 issues. Well, it's 15 issues. And I could have kept going, but I was like, this is just an indie book. This isn't my magnum opus. I can work on other stories, and so I then started a 6-issue book, and then I'm like halfway through with it, but I'm just like, you know what? I have got a ton of stories. I'm gonna do a one shot next time, just a one shot, and the nice thing about doing those one shots is they're super cost effective for indie creators to create just a one comic. But then what if that one shot could spin off into other things? But if not, you have a completed comic and it could be a hit and people really like it, or it could be a miss and you don't take that much of a fall.
Yeah, and this brings up an opportunity for a good question that I know the answer if someone asks me. Your 15-issue series, what would happen if you compared issue 1 to issue 15?
Oh yeah, issue 15 is like way better than issue 1.
Yeah, so wouldn't you want to save like the longer form stories for when you're growing, or you've already grown so much that now you're growing at a slower pace and you can create a more consistent piece of art? Like, have you noticed the difference between issue 1 of Grimwood and the rest of Grimwood?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I was actually I have the comic right up here. Where's my camera?
Yeah.
Boom, right there. I pulled up my favorite, that page where he turns into the werewolf. It's a splash, and he's just like,
oh yeah, it's a nice page.
That was sick. That was
my favorite page is like the 4th page of volume 2.
Oh, I haven't read it yet.
It's like the 2nd page of volume 2.
Your artist is great. I mean, the fact that these horses, these
characters, Ilhan,
a freaking amazing, like, for a black and white comic, just slays it.
He's amazing at putting depth without color.
Yeah, I'm working on a black and white comic book for someone right now, and sorry, Wes, I'm not as good as this, but still keep me on the book.
Comics are just my absolute favorite.
Are they?
I all my comics are black and white. I think less than 1% of the comic book pages that I have helped create, less than 1% of them are color.
So are you a big fan of the Walking Dead the image book?
I am a huge fan of the Walking Dead comic, not that trash.
Yeah, not the show, the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the comic is great. But going back to what you said, it's so true. That's kind of why I ended Demons at 15, because I finished it and I was like, do I leave? I was done writing the last couple pages, and I was saying, do I keep this going? And then I read over issue 1, and I was like, I've really improved. I want to take these improvements into a new story, because when new readers come, they'll read that first issue and go, this isn't my cup of tea. But it's like, no, don't worry, guys. I get better, but I get better at the 15th issue. Whereas I could be like, here's issue 1 of a new series. I'm at my best right now.
Yeah. That's why we did a one shot. We were like, this is a little sampling of our best at this point in time. You know what I mean? One consistent piece of storytelling. And of course, like, I don't get me wrong, when I was writing Grimwood, I did put consideration into the end of the issues. You know what I mean? Like, into like where each issue will end and how many pages each issue is. But for the most part, I did write it as one complete story. And so that's why like I like to ask people to review it as one complete thing, and that's why. But it, as a complete thing, it's not very consistent, because we improved so much, and I'm still super proud of issue 1. And if I created issue 1 today with Adigan, and Adigan created that same piece of artwork today, I don't think any of us would be disappointed in it. Mm-hmm. It's just our best work is yet to come when it comes to issue 1.
And I think indie creators should like take note of this. Do a one shot, so that keep doing one shot, so people can constantly see your improvement. Because doing a huge long form series, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing when people are like, "I didn't really enjoy issue one. That it was kind of clunky." Go, well, it gets better, and
Yeah.
and then they're like, "Well, like when does it get better?" Go, I think issue 10, I really started, getting it together, and they're like, so I have to read, and it just it's the appeal is off. Whereas, I think that's one big problem that like I think Marvel and DC have, and they know it is jumping on points for new readers. How much do they have to know about
Yeah.
continuity, and they can't keep up? Whereas, a one shot for an indie comic like will kill it because I'm a new reader. This is a good story. I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah, that's why, like, not that we have any plans, like, I'm not announcing anything, but, like, if I were to do another Grimwood Crossing story, it would be either, like, Grimwood Crossing 2, and then, like, that whole series is Grimwood Crossing 2, or most likely be Grimwood Crossing subtitle of something. That way, new readers can jump on to the second one, Grimwood Crossing, without having to go to the first one. Because, like, I do plan on, like, I kind of see it. I kind of see Grimmer Crossing as a movie, and not in that sense that I plan on making a movie, which I never even considered, but in the sense of like that type of medium form storytelling. You know what I mean? Where Swords and Stars would be a special, and then like maybe your 15 issue stories would be like a season of television. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm more of like I thought of it as one like 3-4 act structure. Three
Hmm.
four act structure. What I should have just said. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's true.
Edit everything else out. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think of like Kick Ass. How they did Kick Ass 1,
Yeah,
and then they
exactly.
did Kick Ass 2 and Kick Ass 3, and you didn't have to, but like it was nice if you did, but you ultimately didn't have to. They were just
Yeah, you
good
just grow
stories.
with the character if you did, but you can always jump onto the second one.
Yeah, and like you say, like ongoing series or like a season of television, a one shot is like that one
Yeah.
special, and I just think it's more cost effective. I mean, when people want to start making comics, like you said, they're like, I got my big universe, my magnum opus. When
With all the spin-offs characters.
Yeah, with everything, and they're like, I've got this huge thing planned. It's like, do you like the first thing I ask is just like, do you know how much this is gonna cost you?
Yeah, or how much time it's gonna take.
Exactly. Like people are thinking that oh, it will take a month to make a monthly book. It's like indie creators don't do this full time. Like we have day
Yeah.
jobs. Like I feel bad right now. I thought I could get 3 to 4 pages done a week for this project I'm working on with someone. And I have to email them like, yeah, this was a 2 page week because
Hey, that's still respectable though, man. I go, sometimes I've worked with lots of artists and I would not be disappointed at that rate.
Oh really? Well there you go. Then there you go. I try to hit
But
like 2 3
not
pages
trying
a
to
week.
feel bad. Adigan can bust out a page in 8 hours.
Hmm.
And so like there's been I guarantee there's been one week where I got 7 pages before.
The thing is, though, also you have to think about like if he was doing this full time, he could give you a page a day. If I was to do a page like
He
he
is doing
does,
it. He is doing it full time because he's like an art student, and so
oh,
like he's able. So like I think he was also able to like his teacher let him do this as assignments as well.
oh, that's awesome. Well, like if I was to do this, one, I don't know how to draw in that style, which it's too complex. So if
Everyone has their own style.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like if I were to do that, that would take me like a week. Like that would take me a week. So like my style like lets me like get my
Yeah, but
style.
if you focused on that style for a long time, you could get it down eventually to a much more reasonable time.
Exactly,
I mean,
exactly.
that is just Adigan's style. You know what I mean? And that's what he.
He's used to doing this. He knows what to do at that
Yeah,
point.
Swords and Sorrows. He's the artist on Swords and Sorrows too, and like it's kind of cool to see his style, but in like a different culture.
Yeah, I was actually gonna. I was gonna ask you about that. What was it like? What was it like having you guys switch genres? And then
We're
bring.
both fans of that genre. Like Adigan had fun drawing the Wild West because it's a way different culture, and he likes fantasy, and that is just like a different type of fantasy. and so he did enjoy that. But he loves Kurosawa films, and
Hmm.
I was like, I am really proud of this script I wrote a little while ago, and like I thought of it as like a Japanese inspired thing, but I never put anything in the script that said it had to be Japanese. But he really wanted to do a Kurosawa inspired comic, so I was like, it looks like we have the perfect plan again, and we just love working with each other, and also it's like, man, it's gonna be a while before I go into another long form story like Grimwood, but um, but I'm scared to because it's like I hit the jackpot with Adigan. I don't know if I can because he's so reliable and he's so easy to work with, and we work so well together. I want him to do all my comics, and I feel like he would, but it's just like
Can
I
you
have
can
to move on.
can
I
you
have
keep
to.
them on to a longer? I mean, I was surprised that I had the same artist for all like for 15 issues, and
Like, well, I can't. Like, he would be down, especially because we have reached success. You know what
mhm.
I mean? And or some, a small amount of success, and he loves doing comics. And it's just he has to work with other writers eventually. I have to work with other artists eventually, and I've worked with lots of other artists, and I've had a lot of great experiences. Every comic I've released is I've had a great experience with that artist. And usually if I don't enjoy the experience, it's usually because I wouldn't something I wouldn't want to release anyway.
Yeah,
So it's just like he is so reliable, and it's such a big endeavor to ask of someone. You know
yeah,
what I mean? I could write. I mean, it took me longer than that to write Grimwood, but I had all of Grimwood written before I even met him. And so it's like writing is the least labor intensive part. But asking someone to come on and draw like 150 pages, that's a big that even if that's a page a day, that's like half a year.
yeah.
Like that's half a year with weekends.
Hmm.
Like that's a lot of fucking work, man. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good. You're
You
good.
can
You're
bleep
good.
that out.
No,
But
that's too much work.
I'm trying to express how much we gotta appreciate
Yeah.
our artists. You know what I
No,
mean?
I think about like Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adlard on The Walking Dead. I
Yeah,
mean, they must have the best relationship that he's like, yeah, I'll stick with this book forever.
exactly. And like also, Charlie Adlard reached a point where he was like, "Can I get someone else to ink this?" You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because this is a lot of work. And that was and they must have had some sort of good relationship for them to agree to bring on a third person. But if you want to really go down that route, look at Saga.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh. Yeah.
Fiona Staples does all that herself. No wonder they're always late.
And no wonder
But it's okay.
they're taking that like year long hiatus.
Oh yeah, man, she is just a monster in the good way. Like
Yeah.
I'm amazed at like it like one just the comic stands on itself as a very very good comic and very very beautiful. But knowing that she does that in like a little more than a month,
It's crazy.
like get out of here.
Yeah, I read when I challenged myself like 4 months ago. I said I'm gonna make a 24-page comic in 30 days, and I did it in 25, and I've yet to do it again because I was so done. And I did everything: penciled, inked, colored, and lettered it. And
Oh wow.
but I haven't done it since because it just.
Are you proud of that piece though?
Oh yeah, and it's part of the. It's part of the. And I got it in time for a con, but it took me. I mean, it's the first issue of my 6-issue story, but I'm still working on issue 3, and that one it like 3 months later. Just because I mean, life just gets into you, and
That's
I'm proud.
impressive. That's impressive. Good job.
Oh, thanks. I just think people who are writers, they have the benefit of they can write 10 stories and work with 10 different artists, and artists
Exactly.
they have to stick with that one writer, and the fact that Fiona and Charlie Adlard, they stick with these one writers. I mean, I'm sure the money is great. I'm sure the money for those 2 books are
actually
great.
I'm sure the money isn't as great as it should be.
Yeah, that's true.
That's because comics.
I wonder about the Walking Dead one. Like,
oh yeah, Walking Dead is like the most. I mean, they're both some of the most successful. But if you look at the top tier in other industries, they're criminally underpaid.
Oh yeah. They're definitely making a lot more than their other comic buddies when they see it.
Yeah, and they deserve it. Holy crap!
It's so true. So what is your what are your plans for now that Swords and Sorrows is done? What's the next plan? I know as a comic book creator you always have the next thing you're doing. Do you have any announcements?
I have next 4 things planned. But the next one, I'm taking it nice and slow. So, I mean, my next launch is very soon, before the end of the year. But we're doing an omnibus collection of Grimwood. I haven't even announced it yet, but you're getting the announcement right now.
Boom.
But it's an omnibus collection of Grimwood Crossing. So it's going to be all 6 issues collected in one book for the first time, plus 50 pages of extras that include 2 short story comics. Each one each one's a sequel to the other, but they're each their own individual hunts. So you get to see them go on new hunts. A 2-page epilogue to the story, like an after credit scene. And that's all new. And then there's going to be like a journal a journal from the sheriff when he was an apprentice, telling its own story. And then there's going to be a bestiary detailing every monster that you've seen or heard about in the Grim Old West, written by Bobby, all the drawings and everything.
That sounds baller.
Yeah, so it's going to be a 200-page collection of all canon Grimwood content.
You heard it first here.
Yeah, you heard it first here.
No, that's awesome. So I guess before we end, what is one big piece of advice you can give to an indie creator who is saying, "Hey, I want to start making comics right now"? What is your one piece of advice that you can give them, and we'll end the show with that?
Make a 5 or less page short story and feel the pride of completing a comic and feel how much work it took, and then reconsider your magnum opus or reconsider your 100-issue superhero epic. Doing that. That's definitely my biggest thing. I read an article about that on my website, talking about how you need to ask yourself, is my first project too ambitious? And I've had a few people tell me that it's made them reconsider. So I think people should probably, think about going small, starting small.
Boom. You heard it here. Thanks so much for being on the show, man.
Yeah, thank you. I had a good time.
Where can people find you?
You can go to ConnorBartel.com, ConnerBartel.com. You can also find me at Connor_Bartel on Twitter and Instagram. So hit me up there, and keep an eye out for my next campaign.
Boom. There you guys go. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. Hit the subscribe button, like and comment, and check out Connor's work. It's freaking awesome. I'm going to work on the Volume 2 coming soon, and then we're going to have a video once we revamp the show. No, we're announcing that right now as well. We're revamping the show after episode 50, and his
announcements.
Exactly. So thanks so much, guys, for watching. Thanks for listening to another episode of Draw and Talk. Hit the subscribe button, like and comment, and once again, thanks for supporting me. You guys rock.